On Earth, in a Japanese hospital, permanently disabled patient Keina Kagami dies when her life support fails due to a power outage. To her immense surprise, she awakens in the world of Leadale, the setting of the role-playing game she had been using via virtual reality to interact with the rest of the world as her avatar, the High Elf Mage Cayna. From the proprietors of the inn in which she awakens, she is shocked to learn that 200 years have passed since she last entered the game, and that the White Kingdom of Faustus and the Green Kingdom of Gruskilo, the settings she had played in, have merged into one kingdom about 60 years ago and have since descended into poverty. And from her AI support unit Key, she also learns about what happened to her on Earth. Clueless about what to do, she decides to visit her Skillmaster operation base in the game, the Silver Tower, only to be reminded by the tower's guardian that she has several children, whom she adopted through the game's foster system, and to be asked to check out the other 12 Skillmaster's guardian towers. On her way back to the inn, she saves a hunter from a monster and passes out from drinking wine at the subsequent feast. The next morning, after waking up with a hangover, Cayna heals a mercenary who was attacked and critically wounded by an ogre when his company crossed the forest. Out of gratitude for saving their comrade's life, the mercenaries and their employer, kobold merchant Eline, escort Cayna to Felskilo's capital, where her children reside and where she hopes to find one of the guardian towers. She registers herself as an adventurer and manages to meet her dwarf son Kartats, who subsequently informs his other siblings, Scargo and Maimai, of their mother's presence in the city. However, soon afterwards, Cayna unintentionally draws a lot of attention to herself when she responds to an Adventurers Guild request to submit a potion to a student at the Royal Academy, and later uses her magic in spectacular ways to help royal courtiers, Agaido and Lonti, in catching the kingdom's runaway royal prince, whom she nicknames Primo. The next day, while looking for possible locations harboring guardian towers, Cayna receives a summons to the Royal Academy, where she meets her daughter Maimai and her son-in-law Lopus Harvey, who quiz her about how to create a potion like the one she had submitted the previous day, via a method which is long lost. Later, she takes up a quest to exorcise a ghost from the capital's Colosseum, with Primo tailing her. When the ghost finally appears, Cayna finds out that it is actually the custodian of the Ninth Skillmaster's Guardian Tower, which lies hidden beneath the Colosseum, and is shocked to learn that after her death on Earth, the Leadale game was taken offline. After the Guardian makes her the new mistress of its tower, Cayna sinks into a deep depression. When the worried Scargo bursts in on her, Cayna, disgusted by his eccentricity, punches him straight through her in-room ceiling before resuming her sulking. Cayna recovers very quickly from her depression, just as Kartat seeks her out, and she gets properly introduced to Scargo. Later, Eline hires her as a caravan guard while he travels to the neighboring kingdom of Helshper, since the usual route has been beset by bandits. Although they attempt to take an alternative route, they run into an ambush set by the bandits. However, thanks to Cayna's powerful magic and some summoned allies, the bandits are easily defeated, allowing the caravan to continue on its way. Asked by Maimai to deliver a letter to one Carrick, who works at the influential merchant company Sakaya, Cayna discovers that the person in question is her grandson. She also meets his sister, Karina, her granddaughter, and a member of Helshper's Night Company. After a tense introduction, in which Cayna's annoyance at her offspring's reverence to her quickly gets the better of her, she begins looking for the next Guardian Tower. Two adventurers, and secretly stranded Leadale gamers, Qualke and Exus, tell her of a place called Crescent Moon Castle, which is located deep within bandit territory. With some help from Carrick, Cayna uses the guise of transporting supplies to Karina's garrison for her plan to infiltrate the bandit lands. Before she can continue, a band of rock golems attacks the fortress, and despite her misgivings about standing out again, Cayna comes to the knight's aid. Cayna handily defeats the attacking golems with her magic, and given their power levels, she assumes that their summoner must be another player stuck within the game like herself. Arriving at Crescent Moon Castle, she overwhelms a gang of bandits and their demon boss, who is indeed another Leadale player using the absence of the game's administrators to wreak havoc at his whim. Despite Cayna's objections, the bandit leader is detained by the Hellspur Knights for trial after she restrains his abilities. Making her way into the castle, she revives its skeletal guardian and learns from it that this guardian tower belonged to Opus, a fellow skill master and her former mentor to the game. The guardian also presents Cayna with the tower's guardian ring and a very familiar let to her by Opus, and also receives a huge monetary reward from her grandchildren for clearing the bandit threat before returning to Felskilo. On her way back, Cayna encounters Kartats, who was in the area repairing a bridge, and they return to the Felskilo capital together. She takes up an adventuring quest to hunt horned bear meat for a high-class restaurant, but gets unexpected company from Lonti and a friend of hers called Mai, who asked to accompany her. Quickly guessing that Mai is really Primo's sister, Cayna gives her permission, and in the forest she awes the two girls with her magical powers, including by using them to construct a hot bath out of nothing. The next day, at the Adventurers Guild, the leader of the Felskilo Knight Corps, Shining Saber, encounters an adventurer named Coral. They both recognize each other as fellow players from Earth who got stuck in the world of Leadale for years. At the Royal Academy, Lopus Harvey unsuccessfully tries to recreate Cayna's method of potion making, but when he dumps the failed concoction into a refuse pit, somehow a gargantuan monster, an event monster from the game, is called into being and embarks on a rampage. Felskilo's defenders mobilize against the monster, but it proves too powerful for them until Cayna returns and easily vanquishes it. As the cause is assessed in the aftermath, Coral and Shining Saber recognize Cayna as a fellow player and ask her to meet them in the Colosseum. After revealing their true natures as Leadale players to each other, they begin exchanging news and establishing a contact link. For receiving a powerful new sword and a useful ability from Cayna, Coral points out the possible location of another guardian tower near a coastal fishing village. Afterwards, Cayna decides to permanently settle down in the village where she arrived in Leadale. Cayna is enthusiastically welcomed back in the village. The next morning, she descends into the village well to investigate a strange singing emanating from it, and thus discovers and rescues Memily, a mermaid who is stranded in an underwater cave by a freak magical portal. After erecting a bathhouse to shelter her, Cayna returns to Felskilo's capital to join an expedition by the Felskilo Knights against the bandit threat to get to the coastal village Coral mentioned. When Shining Saber, who is leading the campaign, performs an act of gallantry for Cayna, the assembled knights erroneously begin to believe that the two are lovers. After a few days, she parts ways with the knights and heads for the village, only to discover it is shrouded by a life-draining fog and crawling with zombies. While investigating the zombie village, Cayna encounters Quolke and Exus, who have come here on an assignment of their own, and a young girl named Luca, the only survivor of her community. After determining that the death fog must be a quest event from the game, Cayna summons an NPC butler named Roxilius to look after Luca before she, Exus, and Quolke set out to defeat the boss monster responsible for this. With the threat eliminated, Cayna journeys to the Guardian Tower she was looking for, the Palace of the Dragon King, whose guardian accepts her as its new master. After adopting Luca as a new daughter, Cayna takes the girl and Roxilius with her. Cayna brings Luca to Felskilo to introduce her new daughter to her step-siblings along with Cayna's friends. Kartats gives Cayna a huge pile of lumber to use for house building. She also receives a wagon from Eline as a gift for her past assistance. To ensure Luca has a girl around to help certain things, Cayna summons her werecat maid Roxine. Cayna will still have to go out adventuring for income. After converting the wagon into a self-propelled golem, Cayna and her entourage set out for the remote village, where she introduces Luca to the locals, who promptly prepare a welcome party for her. Unfortunately, they still peer pressure her into getting drunk with a bad hangover. The day after the party, the villagers grant Cayna a small plot of land on which she builds her new house with her magic. After, she, Luca, Roxilius, and Roxine have more or less settled in, Cayna fulfills a promise to Lit and takes her and Luca on a flying tour across the land. Luca has also warmed up to Cayna enough to call her mom, something that brings Cayna to cry in joy. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, be sure to let us know by leaving a like, subscribe for more stories, and check out other stories here. If you want more of me, be sure to check out my YouTube channel, Isekai Entertainment, and follow me on Twitter